Welcome you to BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.
An accent. We need God. Because only God can bring us out of this mess.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. It's a beautiful day. I think it's going to be in the mid 80s throughout the city of Baltimore this week. Enjoying this lovely weather. Just beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous. Lord have mercy. Let's see. What's this? June the 6th. We got ways to go. Election coming up. July 19th. July 19th. Can you believe it? We will elect the very next governor, the very next attorney general, the very next comptroller, as well as the 47 state senators and 141 state delegates in the state. Hey, we got to get away from that. You got direct sunlight behind you. There you go. Perfect.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for having me, Doni. I tried to be present at 9. I showed up 9:02. I hope that's okay.
It's okay now. Are you going to hold that camera the whole hour?
Yep, just like this, because I'm not even at my own house and I don't have my laptop, so I'm gonna hold the camera just like this.
You can't set it down?
Let me try to. Hold on.
So while we're waiting on Richard to get all situated, let me just say this has been a really interesting election season. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and campaigning is not what it used to be. But then again, what is the norm? What is the norm in the middle of a pandemic? What's normal? What is a candidate supposed to do? Work extra hard? Is he supposed to make, or she supposed to make extra phone calls? I mean, people really don't want you knocking on the doors. Okay, so there we are.
Mm-hmm. I'll go back to just what you were talking about, and at least what my strategy has been, because Richard Elliott, candidate for delegate in Maryland's 24th district, stretching approximately from Bowie High School, Duval High School, Woodmore Elementary School down MLK Highway. I've been running for about 2 years. I announced in September of 2020, before the general election even happened for President Biden and Trump. And what did I do? I've just passed out literature door by door by door. And up until, maybe a couple months ago, I wasn't knocking, because for many of the actual voters, you don't want to be right in there, especially during the earlier cases of COVID, particularly before we were vaccinated. So I've lit dropped all over my community to the tune of something like 40,000 pieces of literature, mainly literature that's been bagged up in tandem with other candidates. But I'm with you that during the pandemic, a lot of the more traditional routes that people had followed of trying to dominate the parades and the festivals, there's less of the gubernatorial candidates. For a lot of the festivals and parades I've been to lately, for example, Bowie Fest yesterday or 2 days ago, Bowie Fest, only Rashern Baker was physically present. I went to a Cecil County parade and only Peter Francho was present. I went to a parade in Baltimore City before, and Peter Francho was the only one present. So the parades and the festival kind of aspects have changed. The door knocking aspect has changed. And then finally, for the phone calls, You've gotten more spam calls in the past couple of months than you did before the pandemic, right? People are accepting random phone calls considerably less than they were before. So or
Because
leaving the
people are
voice
bored.
because people are bored, and because the spam callers are back with a vengeance. And for people try getting on the do not call list and it doesn't work. So even trying random phone calls has not been effective. So all I can emphasize for candidates is be present, be accessible, and get your name and information to voters, because many people don't know what's going on. And in Baltimore, you have a very low key election. I've heard from many different people. There aren't really contested election. There's no contested election for senator. The 43rd is effectively the 43rd and the 45th are the only two that I think have a competitive delegate race. And in both of those districts, it's a question of, does the senator's candidate make it on, or does the other candidate make it on? And I'm rooting for Logan Endow, Jackie Addison up in 43 and 45.
Why do you like Jackie Addison?
So when I lived in Baltimore City and I was attending Johns Hopkins University, living in Stonehill, I applied to join the Democratic Central Committee. I was unfortunately not able to apply to be a voting member. I wasn't registered in time, but I applied to be like an associate member, volunteer member, whatever you want to call it. Jackie Addison spoke up for me. Jackie Addison thought I would be a great addition to the Baltimore Central Committee because I go out and register voters. I go out and talk to people. I go out and get young people involved in the process. She's a heart of gold. She's been doing community service for forever. And I think that she will be a great delegate to fight with for community programs, not just in Baltimore, but also in Prince George's.
So I want to back up a bit. I know
Mm-hmm.
our primary subject this morning is politics,
Mm-hmm.
but you mentioned something that's very important to this network. You mentioned college education. You mentioned Johns
Mm-hmm.
Hopkins, world-class research institution.
So they say.
They get a pass today. There's some things that they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about STEM a little bit.
Okay.
Of course, you know, the sponsor of this network, STEM City USA,
Mm-hmm.
they always want us to talk about STEM, the impact of science, technology, engineering, math. We want to get more of our young people involved
Mm-hmm.
in STEM. Would you recommend Johns Hopkins University undergrad to our young people?
Wait, give me one moment. So to be frank with you, particularly for STEM, I would recommend my alma mater, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where the former president, Rabowski, made UMBC the best school in the nation for delivering Black undergraduate students to graduate school. That legacy from the Meyerhoff program, from the McNair Scholars Program, my roommate went to the high school with me, Duval High School down in Prince George's. He's now an engineer working on roller coasters, and he's worked in Las Vegas. He's worked in the Middle East. He's worked in Maryland on roller coasters. It has shown me very, very quickly that just with that experience from UMBC, that you can very, very easily go to either graduate school or directly enter employment, and people know the value of your education based on the degree. I went to Johns Hopkins because it was free and they paid me, to be frank, and they let me in. And that was the only grad school I applied to because I knew I wanted to live in the city after undergraduate. So I'll recommend UMBC, and I'll say that Hopkins is a quality school, but I believe they're more focused on image than they are on bettering their lowest performance students, or what I find important, actually caring about the residents of Baltimore City that live around the university.
I met the most interesting, good morning, Antoine, William, Monica. I met this most interesting Johns Hopkins student, a young Caucasian lady, a couple years back, just as the pandemic was kicking off. She said something to me over at the Starbucks on St. Paul Street.
Mm-hmm.
She said to me, and it blew my mind. She said that most of the crime committed in America is done by Black people. And I'm just wondering, how could this possibly brilliant young woman conclude this and so fervently believe?
I'll tell you exactly how. Because she's on the Hopkins quote unquote crime email list. Whenever a crime of any sort happens anywhere near Hopkins, every single person gets an email. Armed carjacking, danger, breaking and entering. Oh, I still get them. I refuse to unsubscribe because it shows me very in real time that these people who are, I would argue, the safest individuals in Baltimore City, the most protected individuals in Baltimore City, somehow make it seem that the crime that is often the fault of the university for a lot of the disinvestment they've done in Middle East and other parts of the city is targeted towards them. And it's this bizarre and extremely racist form of self-importance that does not make any sense to me, that I do not defend. And that when I was on my campus visit, important note for the listening audience, I said I went to Hopkins. I was in the grad school. There were 2 African Americans in the entire social science grad department of students, me and an African immigrant woman, only 2 in a whole social science department. On the grad visit, there were all these talks about, don't go here, don't go there, don't go past this. And I had to tell them, you know, we're in Hamden, right? I'm uncomfortable as all hell here. Does that matter to you? So it's Hopkins finds themselves to be the focus of Baltimore simply because they're in the middle of the town, because they have all the money. But I go back to what I said before. Hopkins is more focused on their image than community betterment, community improvement. They're letting very nice townhomes fall to ruin right by the park near the school, just so there's less affordable housing in the city. It makes no sense to me. And this is why I'm not going to ever come on here and defend myself or even call myself an alum of Hopkins. I just graduated. I'm not an alum. I graduated.
So I get from your comments that this young lady I met could possibly be living in fear.
Yeah, I will say without question, living in fear. And more important than even just living in fear. Good morning to all the people commenting. Mr. Derek Terry out of Charles County, Monica Jackson. Good morning to all of you. That the people at Hopkins, they don't just live in fear, that they think that the crime in the city specifically targets them. And I mean, what was that term you used? World-class research institution. You could take 2 looks at the data in the city of where the shootings happen, where the carjackings happen, where the disinvestment happens. None of that's targeted at Hopkins. And the people that are there get told a bunch of stuff, primarily by the leadership that has fought so hard to get the private police so they can keep recruiting very, very expensive students that'll pay tuition. They didn't like me as a student, Donnie, because I didn't pay tuition. And I got them in a position where they had to pay me to attend the school. That's a huge economic loss if you think about it. Whereas there's other students that not only can you get them to pay, you can get them to invest in the university. You can get their parents to give money for endowment. Michael Bloomberg, who I'm sure you're not a fan of, when I was at the school, gave the school $1 billion, the largest endowment in American history. Who do I think the school operates for? Michael Bloomberg, Mike Miller before he passed, God rest his soul, but nobody misses him, and the school president. Those are the 3 entities that basically had the interest of the private police and have the interest of the hospital as well. The hospital, not the regular people that go there, but the high quality, the high pay people that go to that hospital because it's world class. And it's shameful. It's really, Hopkins is symptomatic of much of what I personally think is wrong with Baltimore, because you can say whatever you want about the shootings, the carjackings, etc. I'm not condoning or endorsing that. Those are individual issues. Every one of those is its own self-contained issue. Whereas Hopkins has, for centuries, plundered the university or plundered the city, not paid the proper taxes, encroached on residents, stolen people's medical information. Wait, hold on. Grew up in Edge. Okay, so we got somebody went from Hartford to Charles. That's a real Black veteran of the state of Maryland. I didn't know that, Mr. Terry. But that's all I got to say about Hopkins. They got their 15 minutes. We're at 15 minutes now.
There's so much to unpack there, Richard. Let me go to
that's why I said we can move to another topic. That's his whole Zoom.
well, while I'm enjoying this, let me just say, do you
Mhm.
recall the incident at Johns Hopkins where a burglar, a black man, burglarized a Hopkins student's home, domicile? The Hopkins student then stabbed him with a sword. And then, and then, and then, the Hopkins student cut his arm off with the sword. They said that this stabbed burglar lunged, I love that word, lunged towards this person with a sword who's already stabbed him.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a
I
minute.
will never forget it.
I know
They
I
had
ain't
the
heard the story,
quickest,
but keep going.
they had the quickest press release in the history of the modern world. That press release was up in like an hour, gave the entire spin, when in essence, Johns Hopkins coddled a murderer,
Hmm.
stabbed him with the sword, and then severed a limb with the sword because they said the burglar, after being stabbed with the sword, a sword.
Yeah, I've never lunged at a person with a damn sword in my life.
But this is Johns Hopkins. Now, check this out.
Hmm.
That student got away with murder. But baby, oh baby, karma is real.
Right. Imagine what they would have tried to do, Donnie, if I left lunchroom without paying for my meal. I might not have been a student anymore.
Well, this is what I'm getting to. Sooner or
Mhm.
later, and I don't care how smart you are, how rich you are, even Donald Trump, karma
Mhm.
is real. It's coming as sure as the sun is coming up tomorrow. Karma is coming back
Mhm.
around.
I agree, and I'm saddened to hear. I've never heard this story. Who was the state's attorney when
Benita
that story
remembers.
was it Bernstein or was it Jessamy? I imagine it was Bernstein.
Could have been Bernstein.
Oh yeah, well, I went back and I've been again
Yes,
watching
he
a lot
did
of
get
your
away
old.
with murder. Yeah, he got away with
I was
murder.
watching some of your old videos where you were talking with Hassan Giordano, and it's another case. This one, along with the Shamrim case, where if you do something and you have the right institutions protected, you can do whatever you want to people.
See,
You can do
that's why
whatever you
Brent
want to people.
Bernstein had to get up out of Baltimore, because he showed favor to the Shamrin, who were no more than petty thug
Mhm.
gangsters,
Right. Well,
bullies
I don't think
who
Bernstein
jumped
left.
out
I
on a
think
little boy.
Bernstein's a judge of the orphans court right now. I believe there's a Bernstein that's a judge of the orphans court. I don't know if it's him. Thank you, Pernitha. I figured it would be under the because I again when Bernstein was the state's attorney, the Shamrim case where it was I think a 13-year-old boy was attacked by multiple people and they said you don't belong here, and he said that's not a hate crime. If I tell you don't belong somewhere, that's me saying I hate you. That's a hate crime, plain and simple. And I
And
believe those
downplayed
individuals,
it. He
yeah,
downplayed it.
from a
And I don't
felony
care
to a
what your
misdemeanor.
religion is, how much money you have, wrong is wrong. And
Right.
you're not absolved from it because of your race, your religion, your creed, your sexuality, especially when you see how charges are heaped upon black people in this city
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
day, every day. Now,
Hmm.
things have changed, and I must tell you, it's an ugly change. This whole consent decree has the police taking a knee. But I did a commentary yesterday that at the end of the day, Baltimore is off the hook because Fox posed the question: is it the police? Is it the commissioner? is the mayor is the state's attorney. The reason why crime is off the hook. And I'm going to say it's because of the historic nature of the Baltimore Police Department that crime is the way it is. Had they not been so brutal towards black people years ago, we wouldn't have to correct that behavior. So right now, the good got to suffer with the bad. I don't know if you went through that in elementary school, but if somebody acted up back in our day, the whole class suffered. And right now, the whole city is suffering because for whatever reason or reasons, the police are taking a back seat to crime.
Yeah, I'll give several opinions, and these are you could even call them theories, because none of what I say on this can necessarily be proven. But one aspect of it is the consent decree. From what I've heard from some of the more activists in the city, is that the consent decree is a federal mandate that has basically no local backing, had no local input, had no localized reforms of the system. What I've seen, for example, that greatly affects police departments is that they purposely let black officers that could fix stuff retire. I'm forgetting the guy's name. Russell, for example. I've heard you and others speak so well about Melvin Russell for so long. When there are people who could be in a position of leadership, people intentionally let them age out, move them into places where they can't get promoted. And so if you don't have good leadership, you can't have good followership. So any of the good my bad, go ahead.
Let me tell you one of the best cops to ever come through this city. His name is Commissioner Rick Height. He ended up, Baltimore never made him commissioner. He ended up going out to Indianapolis. Here in Baltimore, he made it up to lieutenant colonel, if I'm not mistaken. But Commissioner Rick Height is the kind of cop we'd all be proud of. I wasn't, and still am not a fan of O'Malley, but you need a cop like Rick Height on the inside. You need people on the inside. We need people everywhere. We need people in the police department. I'm not going to be that ignorant black person that says F the police. No way. You ever tried living without order? And that's what Baltimore is like right now. A house full of children with no parental supervision. And I don't know how many times you can keep doing a press conference with the kumbaya response. Every little thing gonna be all right. Everything is gonna be all right. No, it's not. Unless you G-check this behavior, it's only gonna continue. And let me share this with you. I don't know, do you have any children, Richard?
No, I do not. I have a niece and a nephew, but I have no kids of my own.
Well, your niece and your nephew, if you need to G-check them, do it now. Don't wait till they're teenagers.
Right, and they have argumentative strategies.
Yeah.
I understand.
See, we are letting people who cannot raise their own children tell us how to raise our children. We're letting people who've never walked in our shoes tell us how to lace up our shoes. Historically, black women raise white babies, even down to the nursing, the breast milk. These same black women could not drink out of the same water fountain. So see, America has its original sin because it's, and I know Johns Hopkins and MIT, some of the smartest people on the planet, but they ain't got no damn common sense because you treat people the way you want to be treated. You can't justify exploiting people. And that's exactly what's happening in America. The rich, the well-off, they hide behind these coward laws, just like the gun thing. What's there to argue about the gun thing? What is there? What is your justification for having an AR? What? Other than you're a coward.
I ain't gonna defend it, and I think that. Well, actually, let me give something that's a substantive solution on the problem. We want to talk
I went
about
to Lamell,
gun
man. We had
violence
to
in the
use these
state.
hands. You had to put them hands up.
Right,
And that's the problem. You got too many people,
right,
black and white, that pick up a gun
right.
who can't hold their own in a jail cell. Because there ain't no guns in the jail cell.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
my thought.
and Maryland is unfortunately the surrounding states of Virginia. Good morning and peace to you too. The surrounding states of Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, West Virginia. You can go over there and buy, if you don't have a record, you can just go over to one of those states, buy a pistol, buy a bunch of ammo. So I'm proposing.
You still there, Rich? I guess Rich is getting some that's what happens when phone calls come in. Let's get to some of these comments. Donald Pomeroy, I remember him, police commissioner, set the tone for today's violence. I was just a little boy, Miss Sylvia. Many past blacks in the police department were co-conspirators like the gun trace task force. Let's reiterate that point Miss Sylvia made. That's Kenny Harris's mom. And I want you to see this. You see this comment? So this was before your time. His name was Donald Pomeroy. He was the police commissioner. She says that his administration set the tone for the day's violence. This gun trace task force is nothing new. See, HBO wants to come to Baltimore, make movies, and they pick it, they cherry pick. To truly understand Baltimore, you got to look at the history. I would like to see David Simon and those people from The Wire. I would like them to do a historical piece, since they like doing films and movies on Baltimore. The next time they do something, they need to do a historical backtrack to the father of segregation. His name was J. Barry Mahul. He was the mayor in 1907. And there were two black men that used to dig up in his hind parts like white on rice. His name was George McMecken, and also his in-law, Ashby Hawkins. They were black lawyers, and they stayed on this racist mayor, J. Barry Mahul. But under Mahul, that's when those housing policies started, that blacks couldn't move into white neighborhoods and whites couldn't move into black neighborhoods either. It was this double type of racial hatred. But it's just amazing to me also, Rich, that we have all the nonprofits in Baltimore, and they all claim to make a difference, and I don't see nothing but rich CEOs who live in Howard County.
2 points to go to immediately on that. Number one, the origin modern American redlining is from Baltimore City. The neighborhood that JD and the O'Malley's and the Wasps live in. I forgot the name off top. That was the first neighborhood of its type in the country. That is the origin of you could say single family home zoned segregation originates in Baltimore City. If it's the originator, it also needs to be the first that originates the cure. Oh, yep, Pranitha, we absolutely agree. Sean Suter did not, and nobody shoots himself in the head twice. Reflexes don't work that way. And then second point regarding a lot of this, the city has a lot that it can do on housing policy, but a lot of what's being proposed now are lookbacks at Schaefer. I'd like to hear your opinion on Schaefer after I belabored his point, but rather than systemic governing practices that improve home ownership, wealth, general economic trends, there have been kind of gimmick government. Don Schaefer's Dollar Homes program, for example, that's being reproposed. If the city would create a lot of public management jobs in home refurbishing, rather than giving people shell homes that you cannot live in, are not safe to live in, not because of the surroundings, but quite literally the floor will collapse, the stairs aren't accessible, the roof isn't good, there isn't heating and pipes, etc. Until there is a lot of that housing stock that has gone vacant. It's not just a city issue. The city can do something about it, but that's something I want to do with the next governor. You know, I'm gonna tell Francho we need to put about at least 500 million over the terms into home renovation, and we need to make sure those homes go to what I call like people that have lived in the city for 20 years over the age of 65. Because Donnie, technically, it is illegal based on race, but you can do it based on zip code. That's fully legal. You can do it based on time of residence in a certain legal. So we need to do that. And you also said something about the nonprofits. I'm with you whole. The nonprofit budget is about triple budget for government. Nonprofits, in my opinion, for the most part, particularly the big, well-funded, grant-writing ass nonprofits, their goal is to study problems. And if you get rid of problems, you can't study problems. Look who we have here. I'm a mute for this new guest.
Well, before you go, Richard, let me just say this to you about William Donald Schaefer. Actually, more about Baltimore's history. Baltimore had the largest population of freed blacks prior to the Civil War. So there's always been this Negro dilemma, what to do with all of these black people. And I will tell you that someone benefits.
With the federal,
you're breaking up badly, Rich. Yeah, you're breaking up badly, Rich. Why don't you go out and come back in? Plus, she's cuter than you anyway. Denise Smith, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Donnie? It's so good to see you.
Well,
I need some of that coffee over there that you got. Hey, Richard.
Come on, Rich, unmute yourself.
Looks like he's.
Good morning. You said I was cutting out really bad. I don't want to have an echo over Denise talking.
Okay, well, Richard, you were talking last night about that senatorial race in the 26th district. Can you set that up for me, Richard? Richard, don't crash on me now.
6 set that up.
I know, he's such a good conversation.
All right, well,
yeah.
Are you saying something, Rich? Damn. All right, so come on with it, Denise.
Hey.
He was saying last night that the 26th district state senate race. Well, he mentioned all these other people, but he said you were his favorite.
He said, wait, you mean for the 6th district?
For the 6th, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Councilman at District 6. Yes. I love Richard and I really appreciate him. So
what state district is that?
So District 6 includes three senatorial districts or legislative districts, 23, 24, and 25. And I'm supported by Senator Ron Watson from the 23rd district, as well as Senator Melanie Griffith in the 25th district.
Now, your looks aside, you have a long track record of service there in the county.
Yeah, absolutely. Going on 20 years. And I can tell you, it's been quite a journey and it's been an honor to serve. Because before I came to work for the county, Donnie, I was in the nonprofit sector and I was trying to find my footing. I was so young and I was trying to just find my way and find a place because I didn't want to be hopping around from job to job to job. And excuse me, when I got an opportunity to come and work for the county, I started out in the county executive's office. And I mean, come on, our elected officials are not the ones, actually doing the responsive work to our citizens, right? So I was a staffer for the county executive. And, I just found my place in life, which is service to the people, because I really enjoyed meeting people, talking to people, and helping people with whatever their needs were in the county. And I love to be able to do that for them. So when I came to work for the county, it became like the best job I ever had, working in the county exec's office. And I worked there for about 4 years. And then I spent about 9 years in the Supplier Development Diversity Division, which is in the Office of Central Services, which is the one agency that provides all this support to the 26 plus government agencies in the county. But in the Supplier Development and Diversity Division, I was in charge of outreach and training and education. And at the time, the agency was called the Minority Business Development Division. So that was when it was solely focused on minority business enterprises. But then the county changed its focus to certified local minority businesses as well. So there's now this certification process for county-based businesses or county-based small businesses. And that is where I also decided to take my business that wasn't a bona fide business and make it a bona fide business. So I'm also an entrepreneur, and I became certified, and I understand the value. And I created the training program for how to get certified in the county, as well as how to leverage that certification. And even today, I give free trainings on how to navigate the procurement process.
So slow down.
Mhm.
Why is that important?
It's important because part of the reason why I'm running is because I want to help create opportunities for small and minority businesses in Prince George's County, right? If we grow our small business base, we can begin to attract the larger companies that we've been trying to attract to our county for more than the 20 years that I've been working in county government, right? Because we know that we want larger companies here, right? But they're not coming. They have not come yet. We've been doing a really good job at creating opportunities for businesses outside of the county, but now it's our time. And I think
are you saying there are no Fortune 500s there?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we're not getting them as quick as much as we would like. We're trying to be on the level of where jurisdictions like Montgomery County are. Everybody knows about the commercial tax base and how 70% of our of our revenues are coming from the homeowner taxes, and 30% is from commercial tax base. But in Montgomery County, it's the exact opposite, which I think is astounding. They have 70% of their revenues coming from their commercial tax base. And we're trying to get there so that we can rely less on homeowner tax.
But Denise, at the same time, Prince George's County is considered the wealthiest Black jurisdiction in the country. And you're saying even there, the formula is inverted. It's upside down.
Correct. That's right. Wow. That's right. And we've been relying on homeowners for a really long time to be able to fund the services for our citizens and residents here.
As opposed to being more dependent on the business.
Correct. Correct.
So let me throw this out here at you. Here in Baltimore, and please answer this guy, Derek's question. Where is District 6?
So District 6 is Largo, Kettering, Mitchellville, parts of Upper Marlboro, Bowie, Forestville, and Capitol Heights.
I was there not long ago. I actually went to Sylvia Johnson's fundraiser.
Oh, okay.
I was asked to attend it. But I remember being there on Central Avenue, and I was looking at the sign. And the reason you're on this show is because I can see your sign from across the street. There's some signs that I could not see from across the street. I'm talking about those big ones, the 4x8?
4x8s, yeah.
Some people don't know what to put on signs. I thought you're supposed to brand your last name and your face.
Mhm.
Supposed to be able to see that way across the street.
Mhm.
But I looked at some of the signs right there on Central Avenue. Oh my God. I'm seeing everything but what should be there. But I remember seeing your sign. And these are little basics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know,
Marketing.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you've got, and I don't think you have to be every single place, but you have to be
You can't
strategic.
have a sign with your last name this small.
Right.
And you got some big object or something else. It's like using the space correctly. On one side, I saw a big ass tree. What's that got to do with anything? On the sign. I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna leave it alone.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, okay, so you're big on business. What would be the first piece of legislation you push if you become the next council?
Well, there are a few things that I want to work on, right? The first thing that I want to do is I want to create a small business advisory board made up of small business owners in the county.
There's not one already?
No, no,
With
no.
all of the projects that your county has dealt with, including National Harbor, there's not already one?
If there is, it may not be active, but no, I want an active board made up of the small business owners that are here in the county. And I want some other input as well. But I think this is important because it can help to shape policy and legislation because or around around issues that are impacting our small local businesses here in Prince George's County, because some of the laws that are in place are not necessarily working the way that they're supposed to. And so I also want to figure out where those weaknesses are and figure out how we can make changes to them. Another thing that I want to do is, when I was in the Supplier Development Diversity Division, there was a pilot program that was created by legislation. It was called the BDRP program, which is the Business Development Reserve Program, which was designed to have set aside procurements for a small group of small business owners that went through a rigorous training program where only they could bid on. It didn't work out. And it was supposed to be a 2-year pilot program that took 3 years of our small business owners' time and efforts. And and there were no contracts that would actually set aside for them to really compete for.
Let me shift gears. Would it be better for an MBE than Prince George's to just file for the federal 8A and sidestep all of the local?
The 8A is like a whole nother animal when it comes to government contracting. Your business has to be ready for that. Okay. I think the MBE program in the state of Maryland and in Prince George's County, and let's be clear here. Prince George's County's MBE program is based on reciprocity. So if you have your certification from the state of Maryland, your MBE, then you're automatically qualified for Prince George's County. So let's just talk about the state program here, or even all of them. See, it's a universal application. So if you get certified in your home state, which here is Maryland for me, I can then transfer, or it'll be a lot easier to go to another state that I want to start doing business in. Right. So then I can get that certification there as well, as long as I have my certification here in my home state. But once your name and your company is certified, your company's name gets on all of these directories that prime contractors go to look at to look for certified companies in order to bid on these contracts, because they have to meet certain requirements in order to successfully bid. Right. So these certifications make you, necessary for these prime contractors. They need you in order to do business with the jurisdiction they're trying to bid for a contract that they're trying to win. Okay. So certification is It's kind of your foot in the door to government contracting. And I know I hear a lot about people who feel that certification kind of sets you up for subcontracting. It doesn't set you up for prime contracting. Well, in essence, that is true. But if you don't have any experience, why not go ahead and get it? It gets you a little bit closer. You have to also know as a company where to find your customers, who's buying what you're selling. You got to build up these relationships with, these government agencies. Make time to have meetings, have follow-up meetings, and make follow-up phone calls. Make sure these people know who you are, because when it's time for them to make purchases, they'll remember you, and they'll make sure that what's coming down the pike when it comes to procurements.
Denise, what's special about Prince George's County?
Oh, there's no other county in the world like it. Like you said, we are the wealthiest, most educated, most affluent county in the country for Black people, right? And I love that. And that's
I love Woodmore.
I'm sorry?
I love Woodmore.
You love Woodmore? I love
All
Woodmore.
they got to do is give me, I don't even need a whole house. They give me a half a house at Woodmore.
Oh, yeah.
And Baltimore.
You out of there, right?
I love Woodmore. It's a country club with Black people in $1 million homes.
Yes.
Around a golf course. What's there not to love? Just the possibility.
Yeah. Right here in District 6. Yes. Absolutely.
But at the same time,
listen,
Baltimore and Prince George is fighting for the bottom in public education.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Okay. That's another area that I want to talk about as well. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Because number one, the state of Maryland says that we are the second to the lowest. But that's when it comes to test scores. They haven't used that benchmark in 5 years, and we are still saying it. That's what they want to drill into our heads. And for me, it's a mindset that we have to change. Because here's the thing. While if we are the second to the lowest when it comes to test scores, let's put this on another perspective. Compared to the other 50 states, Maryland ranks pretty high. So what does that actually mean? Are we really, we are
better off maybe than other places. Let me share this with you. In my book, I Am Black Wall Street, and doing the research for this book, I learned that, and others may have known this, I did not know this, that slavery ended in the North by 1804. So that means everybody above the Mason-Dixon line, Pennsylvania, New York, they were developing educational systems much sooner than in the South.
Yeah.
So public education, you look at Georgia. When I went to Morehouse, I learned that public education in Georgia, they were ranked 49th. Here in the state of Maryland, Baltimore, Prince George's, what's most troubling is that these two school jurisdictions are both majority Black. And the real hit for me is there are a lot of Black people involved in these two school systems. A lot of times it's easy to point the finger, white people did it. But Black people are doing it here.
Yeah, but you know what, Doni? I really think this is a great discussion because they want us to think lesser of ourselves. Okay? They've been drilling that into our heads for so long that even when they're not even using those metrics anymore, we still believe it. We have to understand that's what they want us to be. They want us to feel lesser than them. They want
my mother and father raised me too well to feel lesser than anyone.
Yeah. And They want us to be inferior to them. And like you're just talking about, it is a slave. It's a slave mentality. And we have to stop tearing down ourselves.
Denise Smith, if you come here to Baltimore, I will take you to my neighborhood and show you who the drug addicts are and where they come from. Mm-hmm. They don't look like us and they don't come from here. Mm-hmm. So we have dismissed all of that foolishness some time ago. But it does beg the question, how serious are we as a community about educating our children? One of the Derek Terry, one of his earlier questions had to do with the mortgage lending crisis. I'm all for a second mortgage if it's necessary, if it's for a private school education. I'm not for a second mortgage if it's for a BMW.
Right.
Where are our priorities?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is education.
Say that.
I had a chance to see during a meeting last week, and I need to get your thoughts on this. I'd never seen it before that I know of. Dr. Bro. Mm-hmm. Bowie State University, oldest HBCU here in the state of Maryland. Mm-hmm. This woman is dynamic. She should be governor.
Mm-hmm. I love Dr. Bro.
She's a bad woman. Do you know her?
She is a bad sister. You're right about that.
I would like to meet her.
Yes. You got to. Go on down there to Bowie State University.
She has this. She's got the book sense, but she got the common sense. So often we get one without the other. We get a smart person that's dumb, can't cross the street.
Right.
But I see her holding her own and setting the bar even higher.
She is. Bowie State is lucky to have her. The state of Maryland is lucky to have her.
Do women still struggle there in Prince George's County? Do you deal with sexism?
I think it's like a lot of areas anywhere you go. I think in Prince George's County, women are doing really good things, really big things, Black women in particular. And so what we need to do and to continue to do, because, for a long time, women would fight against each other. But I think that we are seeing the light, if you will. We understand that we need to support each other and get behind one another, because we're all fighting for the same thing. We all want the same things,
I'm curious to see your thoughts on this push as of late to reverse Roe v. Wade abortion rights.
I think it's a mistake, and I think it's setting us back tremendously if it happens. I believe in a woman's right to choose. What you choose to do is your business. It's my business. I'm not saying that there are not other factors that need to play into the decision that you have to make.
In Texas, it's illegal. They want to lock a woman up for what she
I think that what it's going to cause is a lot of health challenges for women. Because if you make it illegal, they're going to get it done regardless.
But this is 2022. We have men telling women what to do with their bodies. I don't understand it. It's no different than the J6s climbing the walls of the Capitol. Mm-hmm. Isn't this really old, stinking thinking?
Yes, it is.
I thought we were done with this.
And it very well could possibly be, an underlying tone that says we're going to put the woman back in her place.
But in 2022, we're still dealing with this. There must be. I have a theory.
Mm-hmm. What's your theory?
That it has nothing to do with Black women. That it has everything to do with white women. Mm-hmm. And the browning of America. They don't care what you do. But the white women, they want them to have those babies because of the browning of America. And there are those who live in fear, who got to carry a gun, who couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, who feel guilty for the discriminatory practices, the redlining, the mass incarceration, the underfunding, the undereducation, the underemployment. And they figure as soon as Black people get strong enough, we're going to clap back. Well, it's a guilty conscience. It's like a man who's been cheating and come home and and accuse his woman of cheating.
Well, that could very well be, but I know that I think that it's going to. I think we're going to see if they reverse Roe v. Wade, we are going to see women hurting themselves because you can't stop somebody from doing what it is that they want to do or what's best for them. If they have to do it illegally, it's going to happen, and
another key issue, Denise, because we're running out. I got to get this one in. Back in 1973, the state of Maryland pushed the Maryland State Lottery down our throats. They promised money for education. Circling back to the topic of education, does gambling work? Does table gambling? I mean, because here in Baltimore, we got a new baseball stadium, new football stadium, but we have 23 schools that had to close when it got too hot last week. 23 schools in 2022.
Yeah. And that, and when they were building MGM, and I believe it was $17 million that was supposed to go to education from that revenue to go direct to our education system. But the reality is, when those revenues are generated, they go into a general fund, right? So, you can't just specifically say, oh, this money from MGM or from a casino is going to go directly to our school system. That's not how it works.
So maybe they shouldn't have did it like that. Maybe they should specifically earmark it for education, because it's like, hey, we promised you money for education. It's like the hokey pokey, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Meanwhile, we have failed our children.
Yeah. And, I think that what needs to happen is that, when you elect, that's why this election is very important. Okay. When you go to the polls today, you need to be thinking about who's going to be able to work with our state partners, because essentially that's where the money is coming from. I mean, the state this year alone, under the leadership of our Senator Melanie Griffith, brought back $400 million, an unprecedented amount of money delivered to Prince George's County and bonding authority, right? So how we work with that money, how we work with our state partners is going to play a big part in the success of our county, because that money can be used to build up our metro stations. It can be used to help to build out that hospital area, making that whole downtown Largo area the Silicon Valley of healthcare for Prince George's County. It can help us to make sure that our police department have what they need so that we can keep our communities safe, and to build up and properly fund our education system. And some people don't realize how significant that is, and the potential that it has to rely less on the idea of raising our taxes, so that everything continues to fall on the backs of our homeowners. So we need someone, and I know that that's me, we need someone who can work well with people and who can work well with our state partners and our county executive, and someone who's just going to have the best interest of the residents here in Prince George's County.
I'm going to give you the whole screen and give you one last chance to tell people why they should vote for you before we close out, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much. So again, Denise Smith, running for County Council for District 6 in Prince George's County. I am the best candidate for this seat. I know that I'm the most qualified. I have the most experience. I'm the only candidate in the race that has any county government experience, and I've worked in and with every branch, and I know the job. And I'm going to be your leader who makes sure that we have good stewardship over our of our county's resources and our budget priorities. And I'm going to work with our state partners, and I'm going to work with our county executive, and I'm going to work with our state's attorney on issues of tackling crime in our communities and properly funding our education, especially for children with autism and special needs. And we're going to grow our small business base so that we can attract the larger companies that we've been trying to get to come here, so that we can grow and diversify our commercial tax base. And if there's any one thing that I want you to get out of listening to me here today, is that a vote for Denise Smith is a vote for the people of Prince George's County, because it takes all of us working together collaboratively to make a better Prince George's County. So thank you, and I look forward to your vote on July 19th.
Great job. My name is Donnie Glover. Stay tuned for the BlackUSA.News Morning Show. Denise Smith, have a great day.
You too. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.